Hey, welcome to UK Wildcrafts. So early spring is a great time to be foraging because the woodland floors and hedgerows are starting to come alive. This time of year is mostly about the young shoots and the leaves, which are packed full of nutrients. So here are some of my top plants to be foraging in early spring. So pretty much everyone can safely identify the bramble bush, which produces blackberries in the autumn. This time of year it sends off young shoots like this here, and these are absolutely packed full of nutrients. The smaller ones like this here can just be eaten straight off the bush. The ones that are slightly bigger, you just want to take them home, and they're a bit woody, so you want to peel off the outer bark. And you can eat these raw or lightly fried in butter. They're quite nice. You can also make a tea out of them, which has got a lot of health benefits. And I'm going to try pickling them this year as well. This is primrose. The Latin prima rosa means first rose. You can eat the leaves. They're a little bit bitter raw, but you can wilt them. And you can also eat the flowers. You can eat them as they are, or you can crystallise them. So to ID the leaves, see they're oblong and they have like a crinkled texture to them. And if you look at the back, there's one main central vein that's quite pronounced, and they're quite furry as well. The flowers are a pale yellow, and they get darker yellow towards the centre, and they always have 5 petals. The flower stem is slightly hairy, and it gets darker red towards the base, and it's one flower per stem, unlike its close relative cowslip, which has several flowers per stem, but that's also edible. Early spring is the best time to be getting stinging nettles. You just want to get the top part, the new growth, and it's absolutely packed full of nutrients. It's a proper superfood, this one. It's got really high amounts of vitamins A and C. It's also high in iron, and it's about 5% protein, which is really high for a plant. You can just pick it. If you've got gloves, it is easier, but if you haven't, all the hairs, the stinging hairs, are facing upwards, so if you just get it from underneath and twist it at an angle, you can just pick it like that, and you don't get stung. Cooking it also removes the sting, and the best way to use it is just like spinach. Just wilt it down and add it into whatever you would spinach, or you can just collect a long stem of the plant and cook it over a fire. That also burns the stings off. Obviously nettles are quite easy to identify, but just to be certain, the leaves are sharply toothed, and the leaves grow in alternate pairs. So you'll see at the top there'll be 2 leaves opposite the stem, below that there'll be 2 leaves opposite in the other direction, and below that 2 more in the other direction, and that just keeps on going down the stem. The only thing you might really confuse these for are dead nettles, which look very similar. They're not actually related, but they do look almost identical when these are a bit bigger. The only difference is obviously these don't sting. The dead nettles don't sting, and they have coloured flowers on. This is a purple one, but you also get white and yellow. This is common hogweed, and these young shoots are a really nice vegetable. Similar texture to asparagus, and they've got a mild cardamom flavour. You'll see these growing everywhere in early spring, especially on sort of like roadsides and edges of fields and the edges of woods. The only thing you might confuse this for is giant hogweed. They don't really look very similar, but just make sure you learn the differences. I've done a video actually on the differences between common hogweed and giant hogweed. I'll leave the link to that in the description of this video. But just a quick way to idea is the common hogweed shoots and the leaves are furry. They've got like a downy fur covering them, which you can see there on the camera. That's the main way to idea it. Whereas the giant hogweed has it's more like a spikes going up and down the stem, and it has red splotching on it as well. This is Alexander's. This is from the Umbellifer family, the same as common hogweed, so there are some potentially deadly members of that family. Just make sure you learn hemlock water droplet if you're going to eat this one here, Alexander's. All parts of this plant are edible. The young leaves like this, that are still light green, are good. The ones that get a bit older like this, they're not very good anymore. This time of year, you're especially looking for the unopened flower buds. You see these ones are opened here, but the ones that are unopened, they look a bit like broccoli, you see. They're really nice. Another way of identifying this plant is the smell of the leaves. If you crush them, you'll get a smell like pepper. And finally, if you look where the leaf stem meets the main stem, you'll see a shroud like this one here. And that is white with red veins, and basically that is protecting the flowers. This is wild garlic, otherwise known as Ramsons. Very easy to identify. It's got long spear tip shaped leaves that broaden out as they get older. On the back of the leaf, it's got a pronounced white midrib, and the veins in the leaf run parallel to that midrib. Most important identifier for this leaf is the smell. If you crush it and smell it, you'll get a really strong oniony garlic smell. As long as you've got that smell, you can't confuse it with anything dangerous. All parts of this leaf are edible. This time of year it's the leaves, and you'll often find the unopened flower buds as well, like this. These are really nice just eaten as they are, or pickled. And a bit later on in the year these will be open flowers which you can eat as well. And you can also eat the roots, but just be careful, don't be digging them up too much, because these plants take a long time to reach maturity. But as you'll see where I am, they're very common anyway. Thanks for watching UK Wildcrafts. So if you're new to foraging, then it's just as important to learn the poisonous species as it is the edible ones, so you don't go accidentally hurting yourself. So here's my video on poisonous plants of the UK, and if you haven't already, you can subscribe to my channel here for more videos on bushcraft, foraging and wild food cooking.